Drop the mask rules and we'll drop a lawsuit. County in the metro area is on notice if it ignores public health guidance. A mother's death from COVID shortly after the birth of her twins leaves a family in a desperate situation as a community surrounds them with support. Restaurants are back to pre-pandemic customer spending, and that's without tens of thousands of their employees. Let's look at how they're pulling that off. And the annual battle between beavers and a bridge in Denver goes to the beavers again. If humans are going to win this, it could get real expensive. Next. Douglas County's decision to fire its public health experts could end up being costly in a couple of ways. There's obviously the potential human cost of putting politics over science, and then there are the lawsuits. An attorney is now warning the Republican county commissioners as well as school leaders in Dougco there's going to be a lawsuit if they drop the mask mandate that's been ordered by the outgoing public health department. And Arapahoe County is saying it may sue if Dougco's departure from their shared health department leaves them with the bill. Steve Stager's along now, and Dougco's stand against the public health orders got off to a great start, but now it looks like it's headed to court.
Sure does. In this case, there's really is only a threat for right now, but Douglas County's new health board isn't likely going to pass a mask mandate for schools, and that would trigger a lawsuit. Civil rights attorney Igor Rakin says that he has about a half dozen plaintiffs who live in Douglas County lined up, mostly children under 12 with disabilities. And he's drawn up a lawsuit on their behalf saying that ending a mask mandate puts these kids at higher risk for COVID, which could have dire consequences for some of them. Now, the suit against Douglas County argues commissioners didn't follow the rules when it comes to leaving a health department. You have to give 1 year notice. Commissioners did that in July of 2020, but then rescinded their letter in November of 2020. The lawsuit seeks an injunction to keep the county under a mask mandate until a court can determine whether the county's decision was valid. Rakin says he hasn't filed anything yet, only showed the county and school leaders a draft to warn them.
We want to give them the opportunity to do the right thing. We also are hoping that they come to their senses before they expose thousands of people to unnecessary risk, especially kids with disabilities. All we're asking is for everyone here to defer to the experts. I know everyone thinks they're an expert on everything these days, but let's actually defer to the real experts, the ones who went to medical school for years and years and years.
The statement from Dougco today, not too surprising. They won't comment on threatened litigation. But the county attorney has said in the past that he believes that July letter of intent to leave Tri-County fulfilled the county's requirement by law to give that 1 year's notice. Dougco's 5-member board of health was seated by the commissioners last week. They are expected to meet sometime in the next 2 weeks, which the county says would make the split final, though Tri-County would still be contracted for health services like restaurant inspections through at least the end of the year, Kyle.
So, Steve, all of this in Douglas County all along has been kind of based on the idea that they would go out and find their own medical experts who agree with what they think about masks. It's one thing to find a medical expert who agrees with you. It's a whole nother thing to have that person say, well, I want to come and run a Douglas County Public Health Department as my job.
Think of that. They're going to have to seat a public health director at some point, and that public health director is going to, in some ways, have to go against the CDC guidance, in this case, to not have a mask mandate, to go against the state guidance if that is indeed the will of the board here. We've seen public health directors in other counties step down over political battles like this. It'd be interesting to see through the hiring process that they'll be able to find someone.
Maybe the person's watching tonight. They're a medical expert, a doctor, and they are anti-mask, and they'd like to run the Douglas County Health Department. Give them a buzz. Thank you, Steve. Jeffco Public Health taking quite the different stance as they take some schools to court for refusing to comply with their mask mandate. It's a civil suit against Beth Eden Baptist, Augustine Classical Academy, and Faith Christian. A judge's order on Jeffco versus those schools could come as soon as tomorrow. Colorado's economic recovery from the worst of the pandemic has not been equally shared by all Coloradans. State legislators getting an update on Colorado's finances today were told that unemployment rates for Black and Hispanic Coloradans are disproportionately higher than those for whites. Also, for 4 straight years, there's projected to be a Tabor refund to taxpayers. Now, the Democrats who control the state legislature may try to keep that money. They'd have to put up a ballot question asking for your permission. One industry that is back to pre-pandemic consumer spending, bars and restaurants. You got customers happily coming back despite the struggles and slowdowns caused by low staffing. Our Marshall Zellinger explores how dining out is thriving again with 25,000 food workers in our state.
It's lunchtime on a Tuesday, and the patio game looks strong at metro area restaurants.
I go out fairly often just to not only show support for our friends in the industry, but I'm not a very good cook either.
Kip Wilson hosts the podcast Stoned Appetit.
It's a podcast that covers restaurants and cannabis companies here and across the Front Range and in the mountains.
Stoned Appetit is a story for another day. We wanted Kip's opinion on dining out after we found out today that spending at bars and restaurants is back to the way it was before March 2020, with 25,000 fewer food service employees.
I don't really hate having to wait a couple extra minutes to get a table or, waiting for the busboy to clear a table. I think we've all learned a little bit more patience throughout the pandemic.
Colorado restaurants alone lost $3 billion in 2020. So just because the revenue numbers seem to be up right now does not mean that they're back.
Denise Mickelson is with the Colorado Restaurant Association, which has had a food service specific jobs board posted through the pandemic.
When you run a restaurant without the right amount of staff, you're either, and this is what our restaurants are doing, you're cutting your menu back so your customers get upset. You are not seating all your tables, so customers waiting in line get upset. And then the staff that you do have is being worked so hard that they burn out and then they end up quitting.
Based on data collected by the state, spending at Mesa County bars and restaurants never really dropped because of the pandemic, except for March and April 2020. It wasn't until this March that spending reached pre-pandemic levels at bars and restaurants in Adams, Arapahoe, Douglas, El Paso, Jefferson, Larimer, Pueblo, and Weld counties. Boulder hit pre-pandemic spending levels in May. As diners return, the Colorado Restaurant Association asks for patience and kindness through a digital billboard downtown.
I hope that Colorado diners will remember that we still need to be kind and empathetic to our restaurant workers who are working really, really hard right now.
You'll notice I left Denver off of that map. Denver did not get back to pre-pandemic spending levels until June, which is kind of telling. I go out, I'm sure you go out to eat from time to time. At some point, it's not sustainable with 25,000 fewer employees. And I'm sure that the owners of these restaurants, you saw like the temporary work hours.
Yeah.
You got to limit it somehow. Sure, people are coming and spending because they've been cooped up inside. But at some point, maybe it's like, I can't keep going out if I'm going to have to wait, or if the service is just not, sustainable for that business owner.
Customer frustration, plus you got to think epic burnout for these employees.
Absolutely. And with 25,000 fewer jobs now, just imagine if you had to do overtime, doubles. You could talk about the Denver Sheriff's Department now, too, because of this. But that when you're worked harder, you may leave that job, leaving another open spot not filled.
But if I'm trying to picture like the perfect, like super chill, relaxed, not stressed out about the wait dining customer, I'm thinking about Stoned Appetit. So I think that was the perfect choice for that story. Thank you, Marshall. Denver police are looking for more funding for more recruits because of how many officers they've lost in the last year. 99 of them, with another 30 expected to depart soon. Today, Police Chief Paul Pazin did not point to the reasons that you might suspect for this attrition, or it's rising anti-law enforcement sentiment, or tougher police accountability laws, or even the vaccine mandate by the city. The chief said they're just trying to bounce back from pandemic budget cuts and at the same time speed up the red tape of hiring.
There's a staffing shortage. It was caused by one thing and one thing only, and that is the economic crisis, the $190 to $220 million budget shortfall. And every agency suffered from that. There were cuts all across, and it takes us a little bit longer to rebound from that because of that hiring process. Having that many people still interested, I'm confident we'll be able to fill this October class, as I'm confident we'll be able to fill the December class.
Same thing that we've heard from some other departments around the metro area. There are certainly law enforcement officers leaving the job, and there are open positions for a number of reasons, but there continues to be a lot of interest by people to get into the profession. At today's city budget hearing, Chief asked City Council for about $7.5 million to bring in 144 new recruits next year. So 2 years after it's supposed to start, construction's about to begin on the big expansion of the Colorado Convention Center. This was planned for 2019, but then a bid rigging controversy halted it in 2018. Denver City Attorney's Office found that employees of Mortensen and the city's program manager exchanged some confidential info about the project, as in stuff not shared with other bidders. So Mortensen, along with Trammell Crow, were accused of improper discussions on the project and altering approved plans for the project. Contract was tossed out. Company settled with the city for $9 million, and the whole thing was put on ice until they found a new contractor. Well, here we go. Tomorrow, construction begins on a $250 million expansion, which includes a new 80,000 square foot meeting space at the convention center and a rooftop terrace. Should be done by the end of 2023.
A mother lost to COVID leaves a family with 4 children adrift in grief and surrounded by love from their community.
The generosity has made me break down several times. Just unbelievable.
The state is offering free at-home COVID tests for anyone who wants them. Signing up takes about 3 minutes. And I'll be damned, Cherry Creek bike path is flooding again. Beaten by beavers year after year, the city now looks at a drastic solution. Next.
At last count, about a dozen Coloradans are dying each day of COVID-19. One of them was a new mother from Parker who had recently given birth to twins and had 2 other children at home. Her family says that she chose not to get the vaccine while pregnant. Here with her story is our Brian Wendland.
They moved up to Parker to pursue a better life.
Colorado was a new home for Alicia Santana Rogers and her family. But after passing away from COVID-19, the loved ones she left behind are trying to get back to New Mexico.
She was an incredibly giving person. She had a heart of gold.
Alicia's parents, Teresa and Philip Santana, say her adopted community of Parker has returned that generosity in spades.
The generosity has made me break down several times. Just unbelievable.
A GoFundMe set up by Alicia's sister-in-law has raised $12,000 so far. And her oldest daughter's school has donated money, gift cards, baby formula, diapers, and wipes, too.
It's made this unbearable time a little bit easier to deal with.
The GoFundMe is helping the family with final expenses and relocating Alicia's husband and 4 children back to New Mexico, where the rest of their family lives and where they have an emotional and financial support system.
It means so much because, just to have everybody together so we can support each other.
The family is dealing with their loss one day at a time, but staying strong for Alicia's 4 little girls.
It's going to be a long, hard road. It really is.
A long, hard road made a little easier with the help of strangers from Parker.
There's no way that we can ever thank everybody enough for what they've done.
For Next, I'm Brian Wendland.
Let's hold out hope that our dropping hospitalization numbers lately can turn into a strong downward trend. Looks like we're at the top of the hill, but if numbers hold, we may have crested. There are 876 people in the hospital for COVID in Colorado right now. It's 14 fewer patients than yesterday, and we are down from 921 this time last week. More than 3.2 million Coloradans have completed the vaccination process, and there are a bit more than 316,000 Coloradans waiting on a second dose. That would put us at near 64% vaccinated. So the state paused and is now bringing back its plan to give every Coloradan free at-home COVID-19 tests. You do have to sign up for this. So Colorado is going to order 2 million tests, is confident it can get the supply, and each Coloradan can go online to request up to 8 of those tests. Shortages of those at-home tests are expected in the coming weeks because there are going to be a lot more employers implementing testing mandates for people who are unvaccinated.
The Beavers were here long before us, and from the looks of the Cherry Creek Trail each year, they are not jazzed about what we've done with the place. Options for us humans include something called a Beaver deceiver or building a new bridge. And every car owner in Colorado knows the annual ritual, putting on your new registration sticker. The state warns us to take the old one off. Next viewer wonders why, and if anybody gets busted for it. Tonight's next question is a two-parter from Daniel in Highlands Ranch. He wants to know why the state always tells us to remove last year's license plate renewal sticker before putting on the new one. Daniel wondered if anybody ever gets in trouble for just stacking up years' worth of registration stickers on our plates.
Those are good questions, Daniel. So DMV says the warning not to stack up vehicle registration stickers year after year on top of each other is designed to make it harder for thieves to steal them from you. But no, nobody is out there policing whether we stack our license plate stickers. Nobody's getting ticketed for it or anything like that. But I bet you're not the only one wondering. No question too big, no question so small around here. Record your next question and email it to next@9news.com. We'll find you the answer.
A chilly start to this last full day of summer. Temperatures in the 30s and 40s, and then with blue skies and sunshine, we warmed into the 60s. That's way below the average of 78. We're headed the other direction tomorrow with high pressure building back in. In the wake of the storm, that's still producing showers and severe thunderstorms that extend from Memphis, St. Louis, into Chicago. We're not going to get any of that rain here. All the active weather that will affect travel is across the eastern seaboard. So with high pressure coming in, a beautiful evening. Check out that big bright moon just past the full harvest moon last night. Fair skies at 43, sunny and 80 tomorrow. The autumnal equinox, 1:20 p.m., marking the start of fall, and we will head into the first few days of fall with sunshine and 80s. Temps come down a bit Friday. A beautiful weekend coming up. 82 Saturday and 86 on Sunday.
Denver has some issues with the Cherry Creek Dam, not the big one that holds back Cherry Creek Reservoir, the little one built each year by the beavers living under Monaco Parkway. Their animal infrastructure causes a human infrastructure problem each summer. Next viewers have tipped us off to the trail flooding caused by the Beaver Dam in the past. This is near the Monaco Bridge over Cherry Creek. That video suggests it's not just a summer problem either. It's happened in 2019, 2020, and, well, it came back this morning. Denver Parks and Rec's well aware. The water level issue there says it's tough to use devices that discourage beavers from building dams in the area. Devices sometimes called beaver deceivers. I Googled it, learned a lot today. So, in lieu of a permanently installed beaver deceiver, Parks and Rec goes out and breaches the beaver dam every time it causes trail flooding. They're going to go do that tomorrow. Long-term, beaver deceiver not an option. They plan to replace the Monaco Parkway Bridge. They're going to make it wider. They're going to elevate the trail. They're going to widen the creek. We need to get a timeline from the city on that. The beavers have won. The most Colorado thing we saw today is quite the roof rack. And your feedback next. The most Colorado thing we saw today was sent in by someone who is not a Next viewer, but is my wife. My wife, again, who is not watching, does not know that we were using her photo, spotted this on our way home from the airport. Subaru Outback with a roof rack. A 6-point roof rack, it would appear. I had to get in that little passive-aggressive thing. I ran out of time for your feedback, so we'll answer some questions next time.